So many growers don't understand the difference between water activity and moisture content. And both are very important if you want to produce the best, most consistent flower possible, especially when it comes to curing. So let's start with moisture content. So moisture content is the total water in the flower expressed as a percentage. And so let's use an example. If you had a 10-gram flower, a giant 10-gram flower, and you had 1 gram of moisture in that flower, you'd have 10% moisture content. Now, the goal for most growers is between 10 and 12%. Anything below 10% and the flower will be too dry and crumbly. Anything above 12% and there's typically too much moisture in there. I personally always aim for 12%. Now, there's 2 reasons for that. One is it gives me the most amount of moisture possible to cure the flower and bind that water into the flower. And the other reason is it gives me the most flower weight. And because we're selling flower by weight, 1% equals a lot of value over a long period. And because we're selling flower by weight, a 1% reduction in that weight over a large amount of flower can become a significant loss in revenue. And that's revenue that doesn't need to be lost. It's revenue that can be locked into the flower to produce the best flower possible, the best cured flower possible, the best experience for those consuming that flower. So to measure moisture content, you would use something like a moisture analyzer. So essentially these machines are $5,000 to $10,000. Inside there's a tray, you grind the flour, you put it in a tray, you close the lid, the flour gets heated over a certain amount of time and a certain amount of heat. It'll burn off the water, it'll weigh the ash or whatever left so the water gets evaporated, and that's how they measure the moisture content in the flour. These are pretty accurate. There's different standards that are set within these, and so depending on the standard, between machines, there could be discrepancies. There can also be discrepancies when the flour is milled. If it's set out too long, it could evaporate some of that water. The machine itself could not be calibrated. So the moisture content analysis is quite accurate, but there's still a lot of room for error.